Hello and welcome to Connect. I'm Simon Hyatt, and obviously we're out of the studio and on location today. Beautiful river landing in Saskatoon, enjoying the great outdoors, and it's an appropriate location this week as we've got a couple of guests who are going to be talking about keeping us safe while we're outside this summer. And as always, we want to connect with you, our viewers. You can tweet us at Shaw TV Connect, give us a like on Facebook, email shawtvconnect@shaw.ca, or call us at 665-3796. And now here's what we're connecting to today. People are heading outside in droves now that summer is finally here. Troy Davies from MD Ambulance is here to talk about what you need to know to keep safe in the heat. But first, unfortunately, the mosquitoes have also returned along with the nicer weather. While for the most part they are just a nuisance, some can cause serious illness. We'll talk to Dr. Johnmark Opondo, Deputy Medical Health Officer from the Saskatoon Health Region, about the dangers of West Nile virus. So it is that time of year when we spend an awful lot of time slapping and scratching, dealing with those lousy mosquitoes. One of the prices you pay for the beautiful weather we have here in Saskatoon during the summertime. Happy now to be joined by Dr. Johnmark Opondo from the Saskatoon Health Region. He's the Deputy Medical Health Officer. Dr. Opondo, thank you so much for joining us outside today. A little bit nicer to do this than in an office. Enjoy some of the sunshine.
No, you're welcome, Simon, and you're right. This is an opportunity for us to enjoy the good weather, which we have the good fortune to enjoy in Saskatchewan, but also to try and be safe.
All right, absolutely. Before we start talking about those darn mosquitoes and the serious issues that they can cause, let's talk a little bit about you, sir. I know you're not from around here originally. Tell us a little bit of your background.
Sure, yeah. Some have heard this story before, but I'm always happy to share this. I was born and actually trained as a physician in Kenya. Mm-hmm. And after my initial training, did some work in some conflict countries, actually in Sudan and in Rwanda, and then decided to pursue further training in the United States, where I got my training in public health and did a stint working at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, moved to the New York area briefly, and then landed in Saskatoon.
Wow.
Lo and behold. So quite a journey.
That you have really been all over the place.
Yes.
Was it a big shock adjusting, not just from growing up in Africa, but coming to the States, then all of a sudden you're here where all of a sudden those colder months are a little bit something different to deal with?
Yes, the winter is not something someone can really describe to you. You have to live a Saskatchewan winter, and I'm happy to say I've been here for 10 winters. I think I've earned my stripes. So lived through the tornadoes and the blizzard. It was a snow blizzard. And the very cold Januaries. But really the reason why we moved here was, I think I was at that stage in life where I had a relatively young family. Mm-hmm. So came here with my wife and 3 daughters who've basically grown up in Saskatoon. Sure. So this is what they know best. And they love it. They really love it here. And that made adjusting and living in Saskatchewan that much easier. And I think it's, the nice welcome we got, the occasional good weather we enjoy in the summer. They enjoy winter, which is actually very interesting. They find winter actually an interesting thing because it gives them something different to do with a different season.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we're glad you're enjoying yourself here in Saskatoon, and glad that you came here and brought this wealth of knowledge that you have. This must be fascinating work that you do. I know a lot of your work has to do with HIV and AIDS, that sort of things, as you say, conflict countries. This must be fascinating work to do.
Well, public health, I say one of the reasons I went into public health is it's allowed me to travel. Mm-hmm. And public health is something we all need all the time. And it's not always very easy to recognize, what does public health actually look like? Mm-hmm. Especially in a setting like ours here, for example. The fact that we can safely, in our houses, turn the tap, drink the water straight out of the tap without fear of getting some diarrheal disease is really public health testimony that it works. Because I've been in situations where that is not the norm. You really have to literally haul your water from the river, boil it, leave it standing before it's safe for you to drink. So, public health is a whole continuum of services, and it works in many, many ways. And some of it is advice, just advice that you can live by. Some of it is actual practical stuff that we do, which is really behind the scenes, the restaurant inspections, inspection of publicly licensed housing, dealing with outbreaks. I think outbreaks is probably the most visible part of the work we do in public health, but there's a whole world of public health that tries to keep us safe and deals with other things so that we can enjoy the geography and the climate that we find ourselves in.
Well, and speaking of the climate, one of the main reasons we wanted to bring you on was to talk about West Nile and the weather we've had, the conditions we've had. This is pretty much mosquito heaven we've created here with the hot weather we've been experiencing recently, a lot of rain as well. This is sort of ideal mosquito condition, isn't it?
It is ideal. And one of the things which I actually learned coming to Canada, because I come from a country where there's lots of mosquitoes, not appreciating that, so that was a surprise. But the prairies, especially when we have a very wet and soggy winter and a very warm summer, is ideal habitat for mosquitoes. And in our situation here is we have a spring where there's a lot of other mosquitoes, and then in early summer, from about beginning of July to mid-August, for that short period of time, we actually have the vector that has the capability to transmit West Nile.
Right.
So even though we began seeing it, that's not unusual. This is its time. It's a seasonal thing. What we are still saying is it doesn't carry the disease yet, but it only takes it exposed to a bird that's infected with West Nile, and then it's capable of transmitting disease. So for this period of time, probably from now till early fall, when you go out, you need to use the DEET, carry the sample.
You've got it with you. This man is prepared.
As much as I enjoy being out of the office, but when you know you're going to be exposed, use the DEET. It's effective, and it's an effective protection to prevent mosquito bites.
Sure.
Some people can actually have quite severe effects from the West Nile virus. So it's not the mosquito transmits the virus.
Right.
So the virus is what we're trying to avoid by avoiding the mosquito bite. So this is the season for West Nile, and so we need to be able to take a little bit of the good with some of the bad. that comes with the good weather that we're enjoying.
Absolutely, and it is specifically the Culex tarsalis mosquito, correct,
Yes.
that carries this. I know you're not an entomologist, you're probably not a bug expert, but what is it about this mosquito? Why is it that one that transmits it, and why doesn't it come from any of the other mosquitoes? Do you know?
And certainly I don't have the accurate answer, but that is an interesting observation. We have other mosquito species in the province, but not all of them can transmit West Nile. I think just like the viruses, the mosquitoes have adapted to certain conditions, and the way that the West Nile carrying Culex mosquito behaves seems to be ideal for transmitting this particular virus. So it comes in late summer when people are now a little bit more enjoying the outside weather. It's not as rainy. And it comes out at dawn and at dusk when, either you're exercising or wearing your shorts. And it's kind of a stealthy biter because it usually bites you around the legs and around the ankles. Or when
Clever little guys.
Yeah, you enjoy it. So how different forms of life interact and synergize their efforts is always interesting to observe.
Absolutely.
But an entomologist would tell you specifically why West Nile has chosen this specific vector to transmit disease.
All right, well, we've talked a little bit about one of the big keys for preventing these bites, and that's, of course, using the DEET, using the repellent. There are other things you can do in terms of clothing you can wear and just even your activity, right?
Yes. The other things, we've produced quite a bit of advice, which is both on the Saskatoon Health Region website and the ministry's website, where, modify your activities. Try and limit your outdoor exposure, early in the morning. That's at dawn and at dusk. And if you are going to go out at those specific times, wear long sleeves or wear light-colored clothing. Protect your children as well, because they can also be exposed. Around your home, some of the environmental things you can do, which are not really difficult, is make sure that the water baths are emptied every day, so you don't have a lot of standing water, or that they're empty cans or tires, because the Culex mosquito, in addition to being stealthy enough to adapt to West Nile, can breed in a small quantity of water as well. So emptying out containers or receptacles that might be in your garden or your yard is important, and keep your grass low, especially near the entrance to your house, because mosquitoes like to hide in tall grass and bushes and can fly into your house. Yeah.
And this is a partnership that you really have with the city of Saskatoon as well, right? It's not just the health region, but it's a lot of different folks working together, because the city does a lot to control the mosquito population as well. I know there's a real partnership there.
Sure. No, in fact, that's a very important observation that you make, because it's a partnership, and the city, particularly the parks and forestry, and the guys who do pest management, we work to them in collaboration. So while we deal with the health effects and the health messaging, a lot of the work actually is done by the city of Saskatoon in terms of clearing habitat, which would be ideal. You know, after the spring and the spring rains, it's the city folks who you see going around, clearing the sloughs, making sure that the drains are working and flowing, so that the mosquitoes don't have a place to breed close to your home. So that is important work, and is in fact central to our annual, mosquito control activity.
For sure. Now, when we're talking about the actual symptoms of West Nile, this is something that I guess can range from you might not even notice it to this can be an extremely serious thing if you do contract the virus.
Yeah. So yes, it does have a range of presentations, and in majority of individuals, they may feel very mild flu-like symptoms or nothing at all. The next stage, some people feel some kind of a rash and some mild illness that is enough for them to consult their physician. And I'd certainly say if you are experiencing that level of symptoms, consult a doctor. What we found is for individuals who have some underlying medical conditions, so say you're undergoing cancer, chemotherapy or treatment, or you have other medical conditions, it puts you at an elevated risk for developing the severe complications. And those complications can be as severe as headaches, dizziness, not being able to see as well, so blurred vision, and it could progress to neurological disease. That's really the severest form of West Nile disease. It's actually a disease now of the nervous system, and that's what all this effort is trying to prevent.
And how often are we seeing cases of West Nile? Is it something that kind of grows steadily every year, or do you see kind of ebbs and flows in terms of the number of cases in Saskatoon?
I think the bigger picture is talking about the whole province of Saskatchewan. So what's happened is West Nile virus was introduced to the province around 2002, 2003. So in 2003, we had our first big outbreak, and it was a moderate outbreak compared to the next big peak, which was in 2007. And in between those years, we've had some years where we had no cases.
Okay.
So I think what's happening is West Nile has been introduced. It's trying to establish itself. Occasionally, with all the ideal conditions, we have a big outbreak. But we've done some surveys in between to see how many people in our province have actually been exposed to West Nile. And the news is majority of us have not.
Okay.
So there's still room for this to grow. But I think we want to do the prudent thing, which is to prevent infections in the first place. So, in an ideal year, it could be a big outbreak. But several things have to come together. The mosquitoes are smart, and they've really worked out with the geography. They've coordinated the sun and everything. But in addition, they need to coordinate with the migrating birds, because that's another element of the transmission cycle, that it's established in birds, and mosquitoes bite birds, and then they bite humans. So it's a very complicated life cycle. But these microorganisms have learned to do it. They've learned to do it.
Very interesting stuff. Well, certainly a lot of different factors that go into the whole West Nile issue. Thank you so much for coming and joining us down here by River Landing, Dr. Opondo. Some great educational information there. We really appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
So thank you. We're going to take a quick break on Connect. When we come back, we'll learn how to beat the heat with Troy Davies from MD Ambulance. People are heading outside in droves now that summer is finally here. Troy Davies from MD Ambulance is here to talk about what you need to know to keep safe in the heat.